We're still on the section of running a red traffic light, and in this subsection we're covering obliviousness as a reason for running a red traffic light. Now, it's sometimes hard to discern the different reasons or intentions of drivers who do run a red traffic light, but generally speaking, when it comes to obliviousness, one will notice that the vehicle travels at the same speed throughout the intersection, which shows that they're not trying to avoid any traffic. They're oblivious to the existence of traffic surrounding them. Hence, they're not either trying to speed up or slow down to avoid the traffic, but generally speaking, they cover the intersection at much the same speed. At the end of these animations and the real-life clips to follow, I'll discuss a possible reason as to why drivers are oblivious on the roads. In the first animation, we'll notice that the driver of the red vehicle does travel at much the same speed. He should be able to see that there are vehicles traveling in the lanes adjacent to him or at right angles to him. So should be aware of the fact that there is traffic moving across the intersection. However, doesn't take notice of this at all. So there we go. At this point, you should be able to see the yellow vehicle and realize, hang on a moment, there are vehicles now crossing the intersection, maybe slow down, come to a stop, but doesn't do so and collides with the green vehicle coming in the opposite direction. Yeah, we've got a real life clip. Now notice that we've got this vehicle already partway through the intersection. Vehicle behind him is already going to be entering the intersection. So the vehicle coming from the right side should have been aware of these vehicles now entering the intersection and realize, hang on, maybe I shouldn't be going into the intersection, but doesn't notice the vehicles, just carries on at much the same speed into the intersection and then just collides with these other vehicles. Yeah, I've got a bit of a similar animation to the previous one, except that I've included now a vehicle that's traveling in the same direction as the red vehicle, has stopped at the intersection because the traffic light is red for them, green for these vehicles traveling in this direction. So this is an added clue or indicator to the driver that he should be stopping and it's not his turn to go through the intersection. So in spite of the vehicle in front of him having stopped at the traffic light, the driver still carries on, totally oblivious once again. Now we've got a real life clip to depict what we've just seen in the animation. This driver has stopped for the traffic light. We'll see as we run the video that there's a vehicle just to the right of him coming down that lane. You can just see part of the vehicle sticking out into the frame there. But this driver shoots across the intersection despite having this vehicle stationary ahead of him. In this real life clip, notice these pedestrians crossing the intersection. This is a wide intersection, so visibility is clear for a driver that's actually speeding down the side lane here. He should have in clear view ahead of him these pedestrians crossing the intersection. So he should be aware that he shouldn't be entering the intersection and to actually take note of these pedestrians, but doesn't do so, continues at a speed, and fortunately actually crashes into a vehicle in the intersection. Had that not been the case, then very likely this poor pedestrian would have been ridden over. In this animation, I've included it because of a larger vehicle entering the intersection, and despite the visibility of a larger vehicle, the driver of the red vehicle is still nonetheless oblivious and unaware of surrounding traffic. Real life clip to demonstrate this. We've got a truck moving through the intersection. One can see the traffic lights are green for vehicles traveling in this direction. One can't see it in this frame, but just on the far side of this truck is a vehicle entering the intersection from the left side. And despite the visibility of this truck and its size, the driver still goes ahead through the intersection. See the driver of the truck's having to actually slam on brakes. And here comes the driver through the intersection, just carries on undaunted. Now one wonders, if you look at a clip such as this and others, how is it that drivers can be so oblivious to what's happening around them? And there could be a number of reasons, but one of the possible reasons is that people have a lot to deal with today. So they've got a lot occupying their minds. Maybe they've got heavy and weighty responsibilities or problems, challenges that they're facing. And so their mind is so preoccupied with that they don't really take note of what's going on around them. It's something in psychological terms called cognitive dissonance or cognitive disconnect. So in other words, the brain is not really processing the information of what the eyes actually see. So the driver could be physically, visibly, or visually seeing things around them, but the brain doesn't process that information in order to heighten their state of alertness or awareness of what's happening around them. So that could be one possible reason. And people face more and more problems today and in the future as conditions around them get ever worsened, become even worse. And so we could find that these scenarios crop up a lot more as time goes on. So just be aware of that. What should be obvious and logical to any rational driver may not be a normal situation because people are oblivious. In the montage section to follow, I've included quite a number of clips in the montage section. And the idea of the montage section, if you haven't gone through any of my previous videos and come across this before, if you've this is the first video that you've come across via YouTube, then I encourage you to go to the website and actually follow the course from the website, because there it shows you how to get the best out of the course. Go to the about and the tips pages. It'll explain the different sections of the video. But if this is the first video you've come across, then the montage section is a random collection of clips that I put after these instructional animation and commentary real-life clips. So it's a combination of random clips to follow this section. And the idea of the montage section is to repeat the same danger over and over. So here we're dealing with people who are oblivious. And as you go through the montage section, it'll just make you that much more aware of people who don't act rationally on the roads. And so that'll make you more prepared when you are facing real life circumstances to be more cognizant of the fact that people may not drive according to your expectations. And so as you're more aware of where the dangers can lie, it'll just help you to prepare better in order to take any corrective or evasive action on the roads. So have a look at the montage section, even though it's fairly lengthy, but have a look at it all the way through to the end. And that'll just impress on your mind this particular danger as it's repeated over and over in the various clips. Please like, subscribe, and get notified.